And welcome to Houston Newsmakers. Actually, we're talking with Senator John Cornyn about a number of issues. One of them has to do with the border. Wasn't last week or so, you and other senators went to the Texas-Mexico border to focus on an issue of concern that your party has, and a lot of people, especially in the state of Texas, we are concerned about all the different things that are impacted in our community because of what's going on the border. What's the biggest issue there, and what are you advocating as a solution?
Well, Senator Cruz and I have been taking some of our colleagues who are not from border states down to the border to show them what's going on, because frankly, it's just it's an outrage. People are coming across in historic numbers, some 3 million encounters by the Border Patrol just during the Biden administration alone, 300,000 roughly what they call getaways, where Border Patrol doesn't know who these people are and what they're doing. But all this is part of a business model by the cartels to smuggle people, overwhelm the capacity of the Border Patrol to manage that flow of people, including unaccompanied children, while the drugs come across that took the lives of 108,000 Americans last year alone through drug overdoses, a historic high. Almost all of that comes across the southern border. And I've been trying to get President Biden's attention. I've reached out to my colleague from a border state, a Democrat, Senator Sinema, Tony Gonzalez from a big border district, a Republican, and Henry Cuellar, a Democrat from Laredo. We introduced the Bipartisan Border Solutions Act, thinking that maybe, just maybe, if things got bad enough, the president would sort of take the lifeline, and they have expressed no interest whatsoever. But it is dangerous. I mean, we saw the bodies of migrants who died in the hot and difficult conditions, and you can imagine what it's like in 105-degree temperature here in Houston.
So the act that you propose, a couple of things in that? What would have a few things in there?
Primarily what we're trying to do, the loophole that's being used by the migrants, and more than that, the cartels, is the claim of asylum, fear of persecution for various reasons in your home country. The problem is we don't detain people while we decide whether they qualify or not, and then that's called catch and release. Then they melt into the great American landscape, never to be heard from again. And it's a tried and true method of basically getting here without going through a legal immigration system. Well, I think it's important to point out, legal immigration has been really the secret sauce for America. It's been the thing that's given us a great advantage. People coming from all around the world through the proper process. But illegal immigration is in the hands of these transnational criminal organizations who care nothing about the people. They care nothing about our communities, and they are a threat. The drugs get distributed through street gangs all across America that are primarily responsible for the gun violence and the turf battles as they fight for market share. So with the crime spikes we've seen across the country, I think a lot of that is tied directly to what's happening now at the border.
With so much politics involved, the rhetoric around that, are you optimistic at all that we can get anything done? And once upon a time, you had the Gang of Eight who came up with a plan that looked like it was going to pass. That didn't work. Politics got in the way.
Well, as we've already discussed, I'm willing to work with almost anybody, and if there's a way we can find common ground on any of these hot button issues. But it's not possible to find common ground while the president is turning a blind eye to what's happening at the border. So I think a midterm election, maybe with Republicans in control of both houses, we can put something on his desk that will help us make some credible progress.
Well, you made progress on trying to get money in place to help the Galveston area, that what we call Ike Dike, or whatever you want to call it. It's something, there's money now in the pipeline to try to make something happen.
Yeah, this is a big deal. Obviously, I don't need to tell you or Houston or Harris County about hurricanes. We know there's another one just down the road, hopefully not as destructive as Hurricane Harvey and some of these others. But one of the solutions that the Corps of Engineers come up with is the coastal barrier, they call it. I think there's only one in place in Holland right now, but it's a very elaborate piece of infrastructure. We got the authorization to begin the process of building that. And of course, funding is the next step here in the next few months. Unfortunately, it's going to be a long-term project. It's going to take a while, and it's going to cost about $30 billion is the estimate in the long run. But we know that that's going to be important to protecting lives and property here in the Gulf Coast.
But something is definitely approved and ready to go.
We got it done out of the Senate with a big vote yesterday. Now the House needs to pass it.
Okay. All right. Well, we're going to let you go, but I do want to, before you go, are you optimistic about changing the the tenor of our political discourse in this country? Because it really needs to change. We've talked about this before.
Well, I've tried to do my part. I can't control much else other than what I do, but I think trying to find common ground is important. It's not a sin to talk to somebody of the opposing party, and it's not a disgrace to try to find, where the two circles overlap and the common ground there. And that's what I've tried to do on a number of areas, and I'm going to keep trying to do that. And I think there's nothing more powerful than a good example, and I'm going to try to be that example.
Senator, you're my example. I want to grow up to be just like you. If I wasn't the same age as you, I'd appreciate it. And happy anniversary ahead of time as we share that as well. Senator John Cornyn, Houston Newsmakers Extra. Share it with everybody you know.